Hi guys, I'm in the UK at the moment and staying with family who have a beautiful 93-year-old Steck. This is a piano built in New York by a German piano maker, George Steck. I noticed that some of the keys are uneven and slow to return. I took the action out and applied some WD-40, which helped to loosen things up, but then I took up the keybed to see what was causing the stiffness. If you'd like to give this a go on your own piano, check out my video on cleaning the keybed. Just before we get into the details, the first thing I noticed were these tuning marks. It's really common in old pianos to find these. It's just where tuners have written the date of tuning and their initials over the decades. The oldest mark seems to go back to 1934, the year after it was made, then 35 and 36 by the same tuner, JJ or FF. Interestingly, there's a whole bunch from the 60s up to 1981, when there's a gap, and then 84. Marilyn says the piano probably belonged to her uncle, who was sick during that gap, and then passed on. So 84 might have been the first tuning after he passed and they were preparing to sell the piano. I always love finding marks like this. They're a really interesting piece of history. Anyway, when I took up the keys, there was quite a surprise underneath. Check out the state of these felts. It looks like they've been eaten away, and there's a scattering of crumbs left. I've seen some old pianos, but nothing quite like this before. I started by taking up the dust, and we hoovered out the keybed. Then I replaced the balance rail and front rail felts. And gave the pins a grease with Vaseline. You can also use soft beeswax if you have it. This just helps older keys slide up and down more easily and reduces pin friction. You can do it before you put the felt on so that it doesn't accidentally come off like this. But then I got a really big surprise when I started to replace the keys. Up inside the front rail and centre pin holes, I noticed a blockage. At first, I assumed it was just more dust, but when I pulled it out with my tweezers, I realised what I was looking at. These are clothes moths casings. I have loads of them in my house in Rwanda, but I wasn't expecting to find them inside a piano. They were long deceased, but you could see a little bit of green colouring in the casing where they had used the felt to make their shells. I found the easiest way to remove them was simply to blow hard through the holes, and they just flew out. If they got stuck, I used my tweezers. I must have pulled about 30 or 40 of them out in total. I also gave the top of the keys a little clean with a damp Q-tip and some hand soap. Sometimes dust accumulates under the key rail. It's usually easy to wipe off. Just be very sparing with the amount of water you use and try to avoid getting the wood wet. Only rub it on the key tops. I labelled a couple of keys with L for low because they were sitting much lower than the rest. After cleaning out the keys, greasing the pins and replacing all of the felt punchings, everything was back to normal.